I'm Matt Braunger. This might help.
I am not a doctor.
This might help.
I'm not a professional.
Let's have fun. This honestly is a good time.
Honestly, I got no idea what I'm doing. What's going on? Who are you?
I'm Matt Braunger. This might help. The podcast. Hey, welcome to This Might Help, the only advice podcast that has ever mattered in the whole wide world. You know me, it's Matt Braunger, and I have a very special guest, someone I don't know very well, but I'm a huge fan of hers, and we've hung out backstage, I think entirely in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. That's where I know her from.
Yeah, probably. I'm not legally permitted to work in the United States.
Okay.
So I cannot on the record say we have met there, but yeah.
Okay, well, but you could come and do shows in like, you could do like sets.
No, actually, no. They, at the border, they say that we're getting paid an experience that could be going to American performers. So we actually have to always lie at the border.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I
know, it's
learn
crazy.
something new every day, every day. And every time I talk to a performer from a different country about the Moors, you know. But
oh my God,
Sophie,
it's so intense.
Sophie Buddle is your name. And
Yeah.
if people don't know you, they should, because you're so funny. But
oh, thanks.
sorry.
That's so nice.
So yeah,
I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I know that you liked my one rape joke, which has really kept me going.
Yeah, well, we'll just leave it at that. Just let's not explain that at all. You know, let's just leave. No, you had this phenomenal joke about the awful gymnast coach who was drugging those poor women who were girls at the time, and then but you had
underage women.
Underage. Thank you. Oh, still so creepy. That term. It's like, that always makes you think of David Tell's joke about the magazine Barely Legal. He's like, doesn't that make you almost a pedophile then?
Yeah.
But yeah, could you do like just give the cliff notes of that joke? I could probably do it. But.
Oh, I think it's just that, like, if someone is spending their whole life training to become a gymnastics doctor, like, that's a red flag. Like,
yeah,
it's not
basically.
a job that non-pedophiles are interested in.
Yes, and then you list the other by numbers, rapist jobs, and I won't give those away if you want to know what they are.
The number one spoiler, the number one is Australians. Yeah.
The way you said it was Australians, like. Just claiming an award for them, which definitely broke me up. How long have you been? I always heard about the upfrontness of certain Australian men. They're like, you know, how about that root? Which means like want to have sex. It just means like, you know, like how about that root? Like how about my dick? Which I was like, oh, guy. I was thinking about the guy who's just like, you know, I just ask him. And it's like, so you just ruined someone's day. That's cool. For you, dickhead.
Yeah, they're like, women really appreciate the upfrontness of me harassing them.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't waste time. No, you're just impatient. That's all it is. And sad and gross. What have you been up to lately? Any shows or what's your life right now?
Well, it's been kind of weird because in Canada, stuff is opening because it's appropriate to open. Like now our numbers are super low. Like in my whole, the whole west coast of Canada, there were like 10 new cases in total yesterday. Okay. So it's like, it's pretty chill. Stuff is starting to open up, but people are still nervous. Like I haven't done a set in like 3 months and it's really weird. Like this is the biggest break that I think most of us have ever taken from stand-up. So I'm just like at home, just doing dishes every day. I just do dishes.
Yeah,
and
same.
Then, wander around. Mm-hmm. Like my boyfriend was kind of trapped here with me in Vancouver for a couple months, and we've never lived together before, but we were in my apartment together, kind of did that. And then now that it's kind of safe to travel again, he just went back to where he's from. So now I'm just alone. Like I don't even know what to do with myself. I just create dishes and then do them. And like, experiment with drugs with my friends. Yeah,
great. We've had a couple distance hangs where you're like 8 feet away from another couple, like in our backyard. And that's actually not terrible. I do like that. I do like the fact that the health experts are like, if you're outside, you're fine. Basically just not, tit to tit, just not like, like mashing your face, like dancing together, even in like a body of water. which I think is just wild when you see footage of people that are just like sweaty and red and just dancing around each other, and they don't
just
have
grinding.
any clothes.
Well, yeah. Well, so I live in
Steam.
Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
and I go for runs, and it's just like completely packed at the beaches. Like everybody is super close to each other. Nobody's wearing masks at all.
Right.
And like it's kind of okay here, but you know, that's happening everywhere in America. And it's like, I mean, I spent today listening to a bunch of episodes of this podcast, and it's really fun. And I was listening to one, I don't remember who the guest was, but somebody had called in with a question that was like, if you were to live somewhere that wasn't the States, where would it be? And I feel like usually Americans say Canada because it is like pretty similar. Yeah. And I think about that all the time because it is kind of the same country, except just because we're so influenced by America, because we don't have a lot of our own stuff going on, and you know, whatever. But I've always thought that there was going to be like a mass migration of Americans to Canada, especially now, because you know, it is like safe here. Like it is like a very stable country. And I've always felt that like in America, like Democrats and Republicans are basically at war. Like it seems like two different countries in America. And now to have a president that's also like especially polarizing to those two groups, like I literally have been just waiting for, I don't know, a civil war or something. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that I will say our media is definitely addicted to fueling that war. So it looks to us and to the rest of the world, I don't want to say worse than it is, because it is really bad, but it's that thing where it's just, they're kind of feeding this monster and going, why is this monster getting so fat? And I'm not that person that's just like, oh, the media, but it's just like, they are going to go where the money goes, and that's going to attract eyes, and then that's going to attract advertisers. And so, I mean, anytime there will be like something like, oh, they're going to get rid of this monument to the 10 Commandments in front of a state court, that it's like, well, that's a state court, separation of church and state. You can't have the 10 Commandments. There'll be, you know, let's just say 6 people that are like, do not take it away. And they're like, a protest. It's like, that's 6 people. Stop putting them on the news. Stop it. And it's always, you know, you could, it's wild. Like Black Lives Matter protests had a number in the millions before they were like, oh, what's this? Strange. I thought they were doing some kind of a cookout, as the black people say. You know, it's wild how like just like a couple Looney Tunes white people will just scream and flail, and they'll be like, we have to let their voices are special. Look, come on, just turn the cameras on them.
But the thing about the media being such a part of it is that like that is something that Donald Trump did bring to the forefront of the conversation. Like I personally certainly fake news like never even came into my mind. And I think like one of the dangers of Donald Trump is the few things that he says that are technically correct. Right. And like the media being, you know, biased and instigating stuff and polarizing, it is true.
Absolutely. And I will say the genius of Donald Trump is that he will claim something is true and it's true, but he's doing it. It's the funny, it's just like, they're trying to rig the elections against me. I mean, you know, like, no, you're rigging you're working with the guy that's rigging with the elections. Like,
well, that's what he does. He projects the stuff that he's doing onto other people, which is true. Like literally, but he, of course, he does it too.
Yeah, he absolutely does. I will say, like, yes, my thought was people would flee en masse to Canada, but it's like, I have friends who have like looked into that, and like I've crossed the border many, many times, and your personal history gets vetted like a mofo. And like the amount of, but it's just like the amount of people who are just like, fuck it, I'll move to Canada. And it's like, you will, Dan? You have 3 DUIs. They're not letting you in, man. You know, there's stuff that's like, people just think it's easy. Like you talked about Canada as it takes a lot of, you know, influence from America, you know, and I think that's true. But also I do think Americans take Canada for granted in a huge way. And like, I respect Canada for, you know, its healthcare and for how it's kind of just this country that is its own chill country that is chill enough to not constantly yell, we're number one, which my country does.
Oh, patriotism. we don't really have patriotism, but I think that that's something that's more American than it is in other countries. Like certainly like a lot of European countries, like patriotism is seen as like annoying and kind of like arrogant and in your face.
Sure.
Like there's a saying, I think it's in like Australia, the tall poppy thing, where it's like if a poppy is growing too high, it gets cut off.
Oh wow.
So like if someone is like acting too grandiose about anything, it's just like it's inappropriate. Whereas like you go to America and there's like American flags everywhere, which I think the American, you're just used to it, but like we don't, I can go a week and not see a Canadian flag.
I know. But I think people, Canadians, like a lot of people I know from Canada, almost all of them, like they really love Canada, you know?
Oh, of course. But I'm not going to fucking put a label on it.
Well, I know. I will say it's like, if I waved a giant American flag, it would be under the auspices of, it's a great idea that we haven't lived up to as much as we should have by now.
I'm always really curious. Like, do you think that Donald Trump will win again?
Right now, I don't, but it's a guarded I don't. I always just think that guy's going to slip through, because I always look at who benefit. If really, really rich people benefit, that person's got a real good chance, no matter how bad they're doing. And
well, those but this is what's so interesting is like, I feel like at this point, now that his base is dwindling, it's literally going to be only really, really rich people benefiting off of him.
That's
so
true.
If he wins, it really does show that establishment and money has more weight than absolutely anything else.
That's true, and that is the massive test for us. It's like, do we live up to the ideals that we supposedly stand for, or do we just kind of cash it in? Like, I saw this article today that was like, investors consider what will a Biden presidency be like, and I'm like, fuck them all. Like, I'm an investor. I invest in things. I have stocks. I don't give a crap if I lose money. If Biden, it's like people's lives are at stake. And of course, Biden is not fantastic. He's kind of just like, all right, Uncle Joe just is way better. Let's put him in there. But like, just that idea that it's just, it really is kind of, all right, well, there'll still be kids in cages, but I'll make dough. I just don't want my Avalon stacks to follow, you know?
Were you like a Bernie supporter?
I was, and but also I see Bernie's flaws too. Sometimes I see, like, I don't know how he would get a lot of the things he tried to get across, you know, the 50-yard line. I don't know how he would get them there. But
yeah,
you know.
I think like the argument for stuff like that, though, with Bernie and like even Elizabeth Warren is that like, if you're aiming for something, you're changing the scale. So wherever your goal is, you're going to get closer to that than if your goal is closer to reasonable.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, Obama would always say we can't let perfect get in the way of good, you know, and that's frustrating, but it is.
Well, yeah, but it even applies on like such a small scale. Like for me and for like other writers and creative people that have been stuck at home in isolation, like it's very hard to be just creative in your little apartment and stuff like that. And the thing that I keep trying to tell myself is that it's better to make something than to make nothing.
Thank
you. Even if something's going to be bad, it's better to do something than to do nothing, which is it's so small. I think that's my philosophy on life.
No, I needed to hear that, Sophie, like, because it's like, I every day try to do that, but just to hear from someone else is just like, oh, good. Cause you really have to just kind of, you know, let it all out, even if it's just taking a dump. At least you did something, not a real one, but you know, like you've been writing
creative
stuff. All of this is terrible. At least I made this thing, you know, and you could have someone kind of look at it. Have you been doing what I've been doing, where you just call creative friends just to kind of talk? And obviously your friends like to talk to them, but you kind of get going on a little bit of a riff and just, it just enriches you.
Well, podcasting definitely helps. Like I have a podcast too, and like talking to people, just having a kind of focused, energized conversation, even for an hour, does get kind of the juices flowing. But I like have been, I mean, I'm sure you've written pilots, a million pilots.
Sure. No, not million.
Yeah. But I was like working on my outline for my pilot for, I don't know, a year, 6 months or something.
Sure.
And then now, and I write for a show in Canada, so I don't really have a lot of writing energy while I'm writing for a show, because, you know, it's so much creative writing energy already. It's hard to do your own projects. Mm-hmm. And then during off season, which is like now, that's kind of usually my time where I can, you know, tour stand up and work on my own writing. And I've been so uncreative that it's been really hard, but I forced myself to finish a draft of my pilot, and it's
Nice.
so bad, and I feel it's like so embarrassing, like sending it to your manager, like, oh, this is what I've been working on for a year, and it's like,
Yeah,
but it's like it's something instead of absolutely nothing, and it's like
absolutely. And you're too close to it, so you it's good you have that person just look at it, and I really doubt it's as shit as you think it is, you know.
it's pretty bad. Like it's like like it's objectively pretty bad. Like for one thing, like it's based on like me and my cousin who are very close. And my manager was like, oh, the two main characters are kind of the exact same person. But we are kind of in real life. So now I'm trying to figure out how to like make us different people, but that's like, that's one thing that talking with my creative friends has really helped me with. It's like, I just have to emphasize our differences.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to figure out for character development anyway.
Yeah, it is, and it might not be as hard as you think it is. I'm sure it's like as close as you and your cousin are, as two very similar people. There's certain things she probably hates that you love, and it's just as simple as that, you know.
Yeah, totally.
It's just finding the little things. One of the best pieces of advice I got before this thing hit was just to just work on the most insane idea you can think of. And so I have like this show idea it's like it's over the top bananas thing. And then I wrote a horror script with a friend of mine. You're kind of, yeah. And it's
honestly, I think that Jordan Peele has started a new comedians writing horror trend, because I think that it's the same skill. I think that it's the same amount of building pressure and building tension, but just really, instead of a laugh, it's a scare or it's nothing, and you're left with the tension. Yeah. But I think it's the same skill. I think it's the same muscle.
I never thought of it that way, but that's exactly right. And I think that's one reason probably I would say, people that love comedy also love horror, because it's that same kind of,
we love tension.
Yeah, we like tension and build and release. We like the escapism, even if the escapism is to somewhere horrible for a little bit, because you eventually leave the theater or turn off your TV. Yeah. It's funny. Actually, I saw Get Out in Canada when I was doing shows in Toronto, and where they called it Get Out, which was very cute.
My boyfriend had never seen Get Out, so we watched it. I rewatched it during quarantine, and I love horror movies, but I get very affected by them. I get very like scared afterwards. Yeah. And I remember being in my apartment after we had just watched it and literally being like my boyfriend's white. Like I was like, oh my God, the white is gonna get me. You know what I mean? Like the monsters just so whoever it is, it'll scare me.
You're like, can you just put a mask on and leave for like a couple hours?
I can't.
There's enough for a hotel. I'm sure they'll sterilize it.
What kind of horror movies do you like? Do you like supernatural, paranormal stuff, or do you like a monster? What scares you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes to both. It's kind of I just really like a well put together story that's not insane. I like stuff that's over the top. I like stuff that's kind of slow burn, as long as it's just really well made and you can tell the person is really into making this thing.
Did you ever see I think it's called Martyrs?
Oh God, no, I've heard of it. Yeah, really. You
haven't? Okay,
really so effed up, right? Yeah, I heard it's like disturbing.
It's the scariest thing that I've ever seen. Like, you know how most horror movies, like something really scary will happen or tension will happen, and then it'll cut to like a day scene, and then you're like, okay, we can relax for like a couple seconds or something. So Martyrs, the very first scene is the scariest thing you've ever seen, and then it only gets scarier incrementally after that.
Okay.
Like it is the most terrifying thing there is.
Okay, well, I have to see it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to.
Got it. Yeah. That's you probably do the same thing as I do though, where you'll watch a horror movie and you'll laugh at something being so horrible or so scary or so messed up. Like not in a way of that person got their head cut off or whatever. But
no, you just have all this air inside you.
Whoa, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I like fully hide. Like I try to only see a tiny bit of the screen. Like I get really scared.
Well, it's funny. I gave platelets today, so you can see my little wrestling bars or stripes. Which is you basically you have a needle in each arm, and they take some of your white blood cells out, and then they put your blood back in. But it takes 2 hours. So
that's like for working out and stuff.
No. It's giving blood. You're just giving blood. You're donating.
They don't put it back in you?
They take your blood out. They put your blood and plasma in this kind of spinning apparatus, and they take the white blood
and
cells
it, like,
out.
separates.
Yes,
Right, okay.
and then they put your blood back in you. So then you just have less
But
white blood cells, which your body regenerates. So basically, if you have cancer or you're undergoing cancer treatment, it's very hard for your body to create its own white blood cells. So I donate so people can, especially kids with cancer, can't really.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Well, yeah, thanks. But I get to watch a movie for 2 hours. But I was watching like this Japanese horror series that's on Netflix at the thing. And I'm watching, I'm just like, oh, don't go in there. And like this, like the nurses are coming over, like, are you all right? I'm like, no, it's just this funny. She shouldn't have gone there. And then they kind of lean on me. They're like, yeah, okay. But it's like,
and do you get to pick what movie, or is that just what they put on for?
No, you pick what you have. You can choose Netflix. They also have like donated like first run like Blu-rays too. So and you're in this big like kind of like lazy boy chair kind of thing. It's a pretty sweet rig, That
does sound pretty sick. I definitely thought when you first said that all of the blood was getting taken out of you and then put back in, I thought you were doing like, it's not steroids, but like athletes are not supposed to do that, where you get like extra blood put in your body and they can't like detect that they did that.
Oh God. Well, there's that. And there's also like rich tech dudes that get like young blood put in them, like I'm 45 years old. So if like I was hooked up to like a 20-year-old stud, I'd probably be like, oh, this feels good, but like, I hear that's a thing people do.
Is that, did you do that on Billions?
What's that?
Did you ever watch Billions?
Oh, I love Billions. Yeah.
Is that what they did? They had people coming in with things and rig them all up, like when they were
No, that was for hangover remedy. That's like a vitamin.
Okay.
You can get that in Las Vegas if you're that hungover.
Really?
It's kind of like what they hook you up to if you get like alcohol poisoning. My friend got alcohol poisoning and years ago, and then I walked out of the hospital the next day like no hangover. So I was like, you should at least get you should feel like crap for doing that to yourself.
Yeah, that feels very American. Like only in America.
It's very American. It's
in
like,
other countries, you just have to be hungover. If you
just have to be hungover. And your country is drinking beers 3 times the size of ours and still going to work the next day.
Of course.
We learn a lot from Canada. Well, are you ready for the first call?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad you're here with your Canadian expertise and your amazing comedic mind. And so, like I tell all our guests, I don't know what these calls are. I don't know what they're going to say or who they are or anything. So just, I love that you're taking this journey with me. So roll the first call, Renee.
Hi, Matt Braunger. I'm a big fan of both of yours. My name is Lauren. I'm a mom and a person. I'm going to be losing my job on Thursday, and I make little stuffed animals in my spare time, and I just like give them away to my friends and their kids and stuff. And people have told me that I should open an Etsy shop. It's not going to bring in enough income for me to not work anymore or anything like that. But do you have any name ideas? I don't really know how to sew. I just do my best and try and give them cute faces. So I was thinking something like Imperfect Pals, or I don't know, Flawed Friends or something, because they're not like well done art projects. So if you have any name ideas, that would be awesome. And I have one other question. We got one of those inflatable pools from Amazon. Have it in my yard, and my kids always want me to swim with them. Like, what do you do in the pool? It's like I go in the pool and I stay there for like 15 minutes and like we like play around. Like I don't know how to have fun in a pool. I don't know how they can stay in there so long. But yeah, if you have any advice on either of these topics, that'd be great. Thanks. Bye.
So you take the first whack.
Okay, so I have an idea for a name. Barely Bears. Pretty fun.
Nice.
And I'm actually like, I only shop on Etsy, so this is a really great call for me. I've been an Etsy advocate for a really long time, and I saw I think it was Drew Barrymore did like a little love letter video to Etsy a couple months ago, because a lot of small businesses have obviously been suffering, and a lot of people have switched over to Etsy, and Etsy is like, it is the most amazing website. I've been off of fast fashion for a couple years. It's my most, smug voice thing that I say. And I get everything. I get all my clothes. I get like home decor stuff on Etsy. And it's amazing. Like everything that you order, they buy the carbon emission offset thing for you. It like supports small businesses. It's like people like this who are like have like a side hustle going. You can really like create a business through it. Etsy is like the most amazing website ever.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife loves Etsy, and I love it too. I haven't used it that often, but it's great. So, what would you say to the swimming pool question?
I'm myself just a floater. I like to just float and like read a book or just be floating, take a nap. I'm not really a strong swimmer, so mostly just float around.
Well, I mean, I think that's the interesting point, because she's talking about an inflatable pool. We have one. It has a little bench in it, and it's like $100, and then you fill it up with a hose. And
how big is it? Like I'm not like a kiddie pool, right? Like a more.
It's like an adult size kiddie pool.
Oh, okay,
so it's maybe like 10 feet across, and then it's got a little inflatable bench built into the side of it, so you just sit in there with like a drink or something. It's fantastic. And to her question about what do, you do what Sophie said. You float, you sit, you read, you play with the kids some, and you can be like, all right, you play on that side, mom's over here, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm gonna read my book or just sit in the sun. And also, I think you got to set your own boundaries. So when they're like, get in, mom, sure, get in, but then you're in there as long as you want because you're the mom. And just be like, and that's my time.
I know sometimes you got to be like, mommy doesn't play today. Mm-hmm. And you just got to do your own shit. But there's also like, there's a lot of stuff on Amazon that you can get that like pool games and stuff. Like I saw one that was like kind of like a beer pong thing, but for in the pool. You can get accessories.
That's great. Beer pong in the pool. Have fun. I would say the only with the an Etsy thing, like maybe approach it like you can make a living at it. Just don't count on it, but be like, I'm going full bore with this. I'm putting these out there. I'm gonna try to debut them with like a social media plan or something. Plan it out.
Yeah.
Like your job.
Well, join a bunch of like Facebook groups that are about like little homemade things, and like get on Reddit and like find those people. Like you just have to find your little online communities, because those people are the people who buy it and spread the word and have fan bases for it too. In the same way, like comedy, like you want to do stuff with other comedians,
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta network. I mean, I had a really crappy agent once. He was actually a really good agent, but he was a dick. And and he said like, it is a business of relationships, which struck me as odd because he was a dick. But I will say almost every business is a business of relationships. So look at it that way. And honestly, if your friends are good people, and I think they probably are because you sound like a good person, like I'm sure they're serious about how cool your little stuffed animals are. And I'm sure people will enjoy how, as you describe it, imperfect they are. I mean, I think that's good. The world has its share of factory made stuffed animals.
Yeah, people like
perfectly symmetrical or whatever. Yeah. I will say, totally. I love Barely Bears. I will give an option because over the weekend, my wife is from Massachusetts, and she ordered a bunch of New England seafood for us to have, because we always go away 4th of July weekend. We take like 10 days every year. We go somewhere else. And obviously we can't this year because it's the most time she gets off from her job. So we're like, we were going to go visit her parents in New England. So she's like, oh, let's get some seafood. And so we got some lobsters, and we got, and we got these things, they're quahogs with the giant clams, and they have like breadcrumbs and butter and sausage, and they're baked on top, and they're called stuffies. So I think stuffies is probably taken, but I think it's good because it could just be like, they're just, like you'd be like, well, your stuffed animals are not symmetrical. With you see, they're not stuffed animals. These are stuffies. Okay, it's an entirely different brand and genre of cuddleable figurine. So,
another thing that might be good is like if you're making these like by hand and you're doing them yourself, like there's this one t-shirt artist that I like on Etsy that did a bunch of Bernie Sanders merch, and that made him sell out all of his shirts like right away. So finding something like that, like maybe like a pop culture-y thing that people would buy as like, funny gift for someone, or like someone you're a fan of, it might be fun to do some like, celebrity lookalikes.
I mean, that's a great idea, especially with the amount of brand outreach that literally any project that comes down the pike does. You could just be like, you know, like say there was a new Avengers movie coming, and you're just like, whoa, little Chris Evans. And then people are just like, oh my God. And Marvel is like, we want to license those, you know, like
well, yeah, and
crazier things have happened.
Make a Matt Braunger bear.
I don't think that'll sell, but
I think it'll sell.
Just it's a very small niche market. But I think, look, if they'll do
niche is where it's at. Niche is the future.
If they'll do a stuffy Soph and a stuffy Bronx, let's do that for the test market. You know?
Yeah, we'll see how it sells.
That'll graduate to like an animated show, and they'll be like Borderland Friends, and we'll be meeting like it right on, you know, British Columbia and Washington State, you know, waving. Meet me in the San Juans, you know, that kind of thing. So I think we solved your problem. Okay, let's check out caller number 2.
Hi, Matt. My name's Tammy. I'm a 50-year-old white woman from Vancouver. And my greatest pet peeve right now is white women my age. I don't know how to talk to them. They're saying things that are ridiculous, and it's hard for me to believe that we come out of the same generation. Also, congratulations to Sophie on her comedy award. Her comedy album was fantastic. I'm very proud of you as a Canadian woman. Have a great day, you guys.
Wow.
Wow,
that's
so
fantastic.
Cute. Oh my God. Well, that's
cool
so nice.
You'll have to forgive me. I did not congratulate you on your award.
Oh, so, that's okay.
Congrats on that. And
Thanks very much.
I do own your album. I bought it. I really love it.
Really?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So just to FYI, just throwing that out there, but it's people should get it. And that's, hey, if you're looking for a way to support us comedians, buy albums. Don't just stream them. So
it's true. It's true. It's like, it's really weird because, you know, in Canada we have these Juno awards, which is like technically our Grammys, but that's, you know, giving it a lot of credit. It's, you know, it's just our awards for albums.
Totally.
And this was like my first album that I ever put out, and I, you know, now I'm the first girl to win. I'm the youngest person to ever win for comedy album. Yeah.
How cool. I didn't know that. Sorry, go on.
So
just like a man to cut you off. But sorry, go ahead.
I don't think you're really the problem. You're not really who we're working against.
I appreciate that.
But it's just kind of weird because like I recorded that album basically for Sirius XM plays, because like in Canada, I don't know how it is for American comics, but in Canada that's how like a lot of comedians make most of their income is like off of radio plays, because we have a Sirius XM station that's only Canadian albums, so that's like, and we get paid in US dollars, which is like fuck yeah for us. We're all trying to get that USD. But I was like my first 9 years in comedy, I had all these jokes and didn't really know what to do with it, so I did this album. But like I recorded it 2 years ago and then put it out last year, and it's like jokes from that long ago just are so like cringe isn't even a big enough word. Like I can't even listen to it because it feels so amateur.
Yeah.
So I am, you know, excited for the attention towards it, but I was kind of hoping to just kind of slide it under the radar, you know, as an album.
Oh, wow. That's so funny. Well, you have nothing to be ashamed of. It's a very funny album, but also speaking one comedian to another, you know, most people listening to this probably are not comedians. We hate almost everything we do. And it's like, even when it gets a massive laugh, we're like, oh, cool, I'll keep that. But then after we've done it about 1,000 times, we're like, oh, it feels like you were dating someone and you don't want to date them anymore, to the point where you're, let's say with like me, I'm with this woman that I started dating, you know, 8 months ago or even years, and I feel gay. Like I don't want to be with her so much. I would rather be with the opposite sex and attracted to the opposite sex. Like it's just because you have to work that joke until it's great. And I think most of us, like anytime someone's like, hey, when do you know to do a new album or a new special, or when do you know burn your hour? It's like when I'm sick of it. And when I feel like it's showing on stage, when I feel like I'm starting this joke and I'm just like, ugh.
When you're rolling your eyes at yourself and people are like, what's the vibe? Why with the attitude?
Yeah, well, because everybody, if they're honest, just likes the immediacy of the moment. And if we could just improvise a perfect hour right now, fuck it, give me something. I'll be amazing. I'm sure part of that hour would be good, but it's just like, you do really, nobody really wants that. They want the prepared stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is like, you didn't let him see you sweat. Like nobody knows listening to that album. But
yeah, I'm just speaking freely. Like I'm sure it's fine. It's just horrible feeling for me.
I'll give you a free nightmare, Sophie, free one. My wife discovered that my a lot of my jokes are on TikTok, and she got on TikTok and made a fucking account up and was like lip syncing my shit next to me and filming me, and I'm just like, oh. And hearing this awful like B-side bit from like way back, and just me kind of stuttering my way to the point. Oh
my God, your wife is so funny. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
No, she's
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Funny. She's funnier than me. Like she'd never want to do
well, TikTok is great. Number one, that's one thing that I've discovered since quarantine as well. But also just playing somebody's album. Like my boyfriend is in this group of friends. None of his friends are comics. They're all best friends from high school.
Okay.
And all of them, like whenever anyone's given them like an aux cord at a party or something, they put on his first album. And he just like, it just makes him want to die. It's like the funniest thing. He gets so worked up.
That's so great. Stop it, guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's answer this. Let's answer this lady's question.
Yeah, I mean, because I will let you take this one away for obvious
reasons. Yeah. So it was something that I was also just looking at was, I don't know who put it out, but I saw today on Twitter, someone has released this thing about the percentages of white women who voted for Trump and how that's how he got elected, and how it was like 56% of white women voted for Trump or something. That really makes you blink a lot, Yeah. It's a real really it's one of those, and this is like the biggest moment for white women, because they really let everyone down. Like they really were the problem, because you can kind of at this point expect white men in general as a voter bloc to be self-serving and to be trying to hold on to their power and blah, blah, however you want to philosophize it. Like we can see that coming. Right. White women we're the tiebreaker basically, because we're all about feminism, but a lot of white women are not about intersectional white feminism, like are not about supporting minorities and supporting trans people and stuff like that. Like white women have always stood behind white men, and this is our chance to switch over and put weight on the other side, and they're not really doing it. Like as a demographic, they're not really choosing the right side of history. And I don't know how to change it, but I really agree with this phone call, because it is embarrassing being a white woman at this point. Like I'm sure more so in America, but like anywhere, like we are choosing to maintain the privilege that we do have, as opposed to like we can understand being discriminated against more than white men can. So why can't we use that empathy to like use that empathy and use the power that we do have to move forward?
It's for safety. I'm going to use a really long, like not long, but a really kind of awkward analogy as like just talking about the Irish in America, where, right now there are a lot of white people who are just like, well, Irish people were slaves. No, not really. But
I'm Jewish. You should Jewish people all the time.
Yeah, well, and Jewish people were slaves. But like and Irish people could be considered slaves, but just weren't brought en masse in chains on the level of that, Black people in America were. But that gets me to my point. When Irish people were the most discriminated, what you'd call white people, they created the term white people. They're like, look, we're white people. That was a way that white
to be included
and to stop getting kicked around. Irish people, Italians, anything that was considered fringe that was outside the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant model. They were like, hey, at least they're white. Okay, fine. Irish people are fine. And in turn, a lot of the Irish people would turn around and kick Black people's ass twice as bad. to show, hey, look at what I'm doing. I'm with you. And I'm not saying white women are doing that, but they are the ones that are constantly getting caught on tape being like, what are you doing here? You're not in this neighborhood, get out of my country. And one reason they're doing that, I think, is for self-preservation from me, from straight white males who have been in power for millennia, to kind of be like, hey, like we talk about, virtue signaling is something gets thrown around a lot. That's a way. Virtue signaling annoys me because it's just like, I get it if you're not those women who like took a picture of themselves in front of Black Lives Matter, like Black Lives Matter, and then they got in like their Mercedes and drove away from the protest and they put it on Instagram. Like, oh yeah, that is virtue signaling, granted.
Yeah.
But there's other other kinds of signaling, those women are kind of letting themselves get put on tape because it's like, yeah, they're going to get vilified, but at the same time, they're like, look what I did though. And they can walk into a Trump rally and become a celebrity, and not that that's the gain, but it's kind of a way to show out. So I think it's not as easy as, like their plan is not to be on tape, obviously, but it is that thing of showing your husband and your husband's friends. I mean, I'm on the team, guys. So, I still
but I also
receive
think
the benefits, but it's wrong and it's sad, but I see where it's coming from, sadly.
It's to get the benefits. And I think that another perhaps subconscious benefit of it is if white men are still in power, white women can't be the bad guy because that's something worse than us. And I think that is something that is present. Like, think about, how much white women react when people say that they're racist or like doing anything wrong. Like, we don't want to be the worst one out there. And as long as white men are around doing shit, we're still second worst.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, the term Karen is getting thrown around really hard. And like, I have the same reaction. I just think it's kind of funny, but like, there's no Karen for me, for us,
no, there's never been a
because
name that can hurt a white man's feelings.
It has to be a diminutive. You have to be at a diminutive level to be given a diminutive name, so it's something to think about. But I will say to the caller, like, you're one of the good ones, and I firmly believe with all my heart the good ones outnumber the bad ones. And I'm not saying they're good or bad people, but I mean people that are doing good things. Like, my mom is an amazing white woman who's worked for social change her whole life, and most people haven't. But it's never too late to start. And it's kind of just like right now, a lot of us white folks are really, if we're doing the right thing, looking inward and going, look, I got to change now or never. And I have to look at how I have to change. And I have to, rather than go, I think I'm fine. Find out what you can do that's better or worse. You're never going to be perfect and you're always going to benefit from the system, but it's all about my friend David Perdue, is a Black comedian in Atlanta, said it. We were texting back and forth about stuff, and he was just like, he's like, man, I don't care if you've got a rocket launcher or a rock, as long as we're aiming at the same thing, then you're cool.
Yeah.
We're trying, and that could be said for any kind of thing where it's like, I think this person who called in is just a really, good-hearted person, because she didn't say, she didn't differentiate herself from it. She was kind of like, how have we gone wrong?
Yeah. But another thing about her is like, because the people on the right side of it feel this way and don't know how to talk to other, their peers, like you're not going to be driven to confrontation because of those, empathetic instincts you have. But those are the people that need to start being louder.
Yeah.
And like confrontation is, I think, basically the main fear that good people have in the world. And that's what holds good things back is good people's fear of confrontation versus bad people thriving with confrontation.
Yeah. And living for it because they have they have this holy fire within them that is horrifically misguided. But I hope that helps her. I think she's fantastic and she has great taste. So
it seems like you have great callers.
I think I do. I get some cool people. I don't get too many maniacs, or maybe Renee is filtering out all kinds of screaming idiots, but for the most part, it's fun. Okay, so let's do the third call, and third and final call.
Oh, hello. I have three very short pet peeves that I'm hoping you and Sophie could help me with. Number one is my husband, live-in boyfriend, is always clearing his throat, but he's also very sensitive, so I have never been able to try to get him to stop doing that. Okay, quickly. Second is my mom, who is extremely sweet, constantly sniffles, and also because of her sweetness, I can never ask her, to fix that. And then the third one is my dog. My dog is always wanting me to go downstairs with him. He sort of shows me his bum. I can't really describe it, but he tries to herd me downstairs, and he's very stubborn, so I always end up downstairs where it's very cool, but I can never get anything done in my life. Thank you for any help. Goodbye.
Your mother is hilarious.
Oh my God, she's so cute.
I think your mom is kind of my mom, because my mom would never, if I'd be like, do you have to blow your nose? You're like almost right away,
Well, this is the thing, is she's been going off about grandma's sniffles for a really long time. And my mom does it. Literally, I'll bring tissues out while we're out, because she's doing that the whole time. And I'm like, do you want to blow your nose? And she's like, was I doing it? And I'm like, yeah, you were doing it.
Funny.
And the thing is, I'm sure one day I will do it. It's just part of our family.
Sure. Yeah. And it's cooler up north, not Ottawa, but I mean. But
also regarding her dog, because I have the inside scoop on this.
Please. Yes. You're the expert.
No one in our family trains dogs. And I don't know if it's just a poor person thing to not train your dog. I don't want to be classist against my own family, but we've never had trained dogs. They're always rescue dogs. So they always have they all have PTSD. And they're very dangerous. They always jump up. They're always big. They jump up. They snap. They're not good dogs. Oh. And then everyone in the family is like, oh, we have all these problems with the dog. And it's maybe put a little bit of time, maybe invest some training time. She does this thing called drop trades, and all my friends know about it. This dog, my mom's dog, goes and will steal something in the house, usually socks, underwear, clothing, a shoe, whatever.
Okay.
And my mom goes, ooh, somebody wants to do a drop trade. And so she gets a treat and gives the dog a treat to get the thing back. And they do this multiple times a day, and clearly has trained the dog to go steal stuff to get a treat.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I'm like, you shouldn't reward that, because it's ruining shoes and stuff. And then she's like, okay, I won't do it. But she loves it. She loves that little bond, because it's we just love to communicate with our animals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the only form of communication they have, but it's not good. She wants the dog to stop.
I'm so glad you have insight on this, because it's I always, when people call, it's I'll be like that first one. Okay, I think we can help with that. Second one, sure. Third one, nope. Anything with a dog, I'm I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to train a dog. I can't. So.
Well, I just found this Instagram account that my mom and I have both been following I think it's called What About Bunny, and it's this dog, and it's in this training thing. I don't know who invented it, but there's all these buttons on the ground with different words outside and mom, dad, play, whatever. And the dog is communicating by pressing these buttons, and can do multiple word sentences and pretty long thought.
Whoa.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's super cute. The dog will be outside now, mom, fully grammar basically.
Huh.
And I know that this bunny person didn't invent it, but this is a dog that's really thriving with these things. And my mom's dog doesn't know sit. You know what I mean? To see the range of intelligence that's capable for dogs is amazing.
Yeah, well, it's funny how your mother's dog probably knows sit, but it's nah, I don't do that. I'll do that. I'll do a drop trade. I know I fully understand what that is, but I'm not gonna sit. Yeah. So as to your mother's boyfriend / your stepdad / husband, what about the throat? When she said the throat clearing, I wonder, I couldn't tell if she meant he was sensitive about her saying stop clearing your throat, or he has a really sensitive throat, so he has to keep clearing it.
I think it's the former.
Okay.
But also, I think I've heard this throat clearing thing from a lot of my female friends about their boyfriends. I think just as men get older, they make unpleasant sounds all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what you're signing up for. Like, if you don't want unpleasant sounds, just be a lesbian.
Mm-hmm. I find I more talk to myself, kind of like I'll go in the other room and I'll have a thought and be like, whatever. And my wife's like, what? What did you say? I'm like, it's not, I should, but it's like, that's on me. I should go ahead and just have, thoughts. I know I don't clear my throat or cough too much. I don't think, but I don't think my dad does either. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily, I think sometimes people kind of like, I had a voice teacher once, / theater teacher who was like, people clear their throats too much, where it's kind of like you want the cilia, the tiny hairs in your throat, you want them to stay moist. And the more you clear your throat, the more you're clearing, like if you got to clear your throat, sure. But sometimes people just kind of, they do it anxiously, almost like you crack your knuckles and you don't have to, things like that. So I'm sure maybe men do that, especially at a certain age, because we can't get it through our heads that maybe there's nothing to do right there. And then that like,
well, maybe she can tell him about this throat hairs moistness situation.
Yeah,
that'll help. But my friend, my friend Kaylee, she texted me pretty early in quarantine that the throat clearing from her boyfriend was getting out of control and she didn't really know what to do, and that it was causing a lot of conflict, and that he had suggested maybe I can just have one day where I can just clear it as much as I want, and then maybe that'll slow it down afterwards.
No, what? It's so weird. I don't know.
And I love couple fights. I love little couple fights. Like on my podcast, I did a whole thing where it's like, send in your quarantine fights that are definitely not based on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like my wife and I are so like, we know what mess with us about the other one, but it's like, I'll be like, sometimes I will have, I've told her like, hey, can you fucking like listen to me when I'm talking to you and not zone out? And she'll still kind of just, she'll, and like the other day it was funny because like, I didn't mean it was so ridiculous. It made me laugh because we drove to the post office and I got out of the car and it was like 95 degrees and I'm standing in the sun and she's in the car with the AC going and just looking at nothing. And I'm like, hey, so I'm getting what, like 50 stamps, babe, honey? And I just yelled, I'm on the surface of the fucking sun. And she's like, okay. Yes, get 50. But it was just this thing where, I didn't say it like, you bitch. I just said it like, what world are we in? So we kind of just like, it was just, I think if a guy who likes to clear his throat enough, kind of like, they can, I think maybe they should train him a little bit and just your mom and your friend should react like when they clear their throat, oh my God, like just make an equally annoying sound.
Just flip,
rather than just internalize it and go, oh, I've told him so many times, I'm not gonna tell him. Just make some.
Well, it's also, you also have to remember, like the big couple advice is always like, it's not you against this other person, it's you two together against your problems. So you got to find a solution together.
Totally.
And it's like, if the or just flip your lid every time they do it.
No, I don't mean you necessarily flip their lid, but I think they're just like, you're just like,
did you used to have a stand-up bit about that, about how like if someone was complaining, you just have to complain bigger? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think.
Is that you?
I don't think it was me. I used to have a bit about how, like, I hate when when a bunch of people are standing in line, like a long line, and then someone starts just complaining to everyone about it and making up conspiracy theories. Like, this is ridiculous. They always exhale, and it's just like, you're just a whiny bitch, sir. Like that. And so like I would just, so if a guy is like, like I'd be like, just making a stronger guttural male noise that he's just like, is he copying me? But worse, or that, like, it's because they kind of be quiet, but I don't know how I don't know if I've ever recorded.
Well, I used to, when I first started comedy, it's 10 years ago, I'm 15 living in Ottawa, Ontario. The only way I knew how to find stand-up clips of like American comics was rooftop comedy.
Oh, right.
And you were very widely featured on rooftop comedy. So you were one of my main influences starting comedy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Your iconic owl joke, everyone knows about it.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. That's nice. Oh, where were we? I forgot.
I think we solved all my mom's problems. She has a great life. I'm not worried about her.
No, and it sounds like she does, and I like that she's just like a woman of just definition, like here,
silence.
1, 2, 3, and I'm just gonna go.
Well, she also like she's like very introverted. Like she really likes complete silence. And growing up, it was just kind of me and my mom, and and she's also a painter, right? So I grew up in like I'm very extroverted, but I grew up in this house that was like very silent, like no sounds, clearly, like just doesn't like sounds. Right. And so, and I'm an only child. So our like, you know, when we would like hang out, it was a lot of times it was her painting me. So I would have to sit like, you know, fully still and not move and not talk or anything. So I had like such a weird experience trying to make friends after that, because I thought that people really liked when I was quiet and still. So I'd like go up to people I like and just fight against all my instincts to like not move.
That's amazing.
And they would not like me. I'd be like, oh, it's probably the mix between natural lighting and artificial lighting. I'll hate that.
How old were you when you finally broke out of that, do you think? When you finally were just like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to be me and I'm going to be loud or whatever. I'm going to be outward.
I don't know. I think I'm still not loud. And I don't know if I would be loud from a different parenting style, but I'm definitely like, I have a very easy time around introverts. Like my boyfriend is also very quiet and introverted, and yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you're not a loud person, but you seem very comfortable kind of just being around, you know, like hanging out with people and stuff. Okay. Yeah. Loud was the wrong term. I think I kind of meant like living out loud. I think that's what I meant to use a ridiculous term. Well, okay. So let's plug. What have you got to throw out there that people can enjoy that you are a part of?
Well, I have my podcast called Obsessed with Sophie Buddle, and when the borders open back up and I move down to the States, I'd love to have you on if you're interested.
I'm into it for sure. Absolutely.
Cool. Not to put you on the spot, you know, in front of everybody, but he's agreed to it, so I've got it.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, you could listen to my album, a little bit of Buddle, but yeah, I prefer you listen to my podcast because, you know, because of all the things I said on my album. But
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but
hey, buy our
I
album
also want to plug.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to plug a book I'm reading that's really good.
Oh yeah, please.
I'm kind of late to the party on it, but it's called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. It's about magic mushrooms, but it's like a very scientific book, but it's really good. It's a really easy read, and it's really blowing my mind. I
should check that out. I love mushrooms.
I do too. I've never had a bad experience on mushrooms.
I have, but it was absolutely my fault, and it wasn't even like it wasn't an experience like I'm losing my mind. We did Couchella one year, where you can watch Coachella from your couch, and you can just flip through screens, stages on one screen. And I had a coach.
That's cool. I didn't know you could do that.
And my friend Dave Holmes was just starting to microdose, just trying that out. And I'm like, oh, you have mushrooms? And I just ate enough like to actually be at Coachella itself, not couch. And then I'm like, all right. And then I'm in bed with my wife, and like we're trying to sleep. I'm trying to sleep, but I just keep flipping and flipping and flipping. And she's like, you have to sleep in the office. And so I folded out the thing. And I put my bed out, and I sat there, and I was angry at her. But then I had a conversation with myself like Gollum did in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
No joke, where I'm just like, why is she being such an asshole? Like, you know what? I think you are. You need to calm down. Don't yell at me. Like, I'm not joking. I did it like this. And I relaxed myself enough, and I was like, I talked some sense into myself. Like,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
I split into the, you know, these two halves. But so maybe it wasn't like, the terror. It wasn't.
That's the big thing they say. Sorry, go on.
No, I say in finality, it wasn't like a terrible trip, but it was bad for her. So put it that way.
Sure. Well, yeah, secondhand bad trip. But that's what they say. That's like the very first part of this book is like, to have a good experience on mushrooms, it's all about set and setting. Like, you have to have a setting that's like very calm. That's why people like to be outside. And mindset. So if you're like grumpy at all, and you're not like, you don't have a goal to get something out of it, you're probably not going to have a good time. No,
and you can't take it like you might take, you know, your ecstasy or your Coke, where it's kind of like, I'm having a bummer time. Maybe I'll take this sweet upper and feel better. Not that works anyway. If you're in a bad mood, nothing's really going to cure that. Besides, good human connections. But mushrooms is maybe the worst for that.
Yeah.
You're just like, this party sucks. You're just
mushrooms are not going to turn your day around.
I got fired. No, yeah. Don't do that. Not cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. I'm glad to have had this time just to talk with you for a long, extended period.
It's been really nice getting to know you.
Yeah, you too. So I don't know. I wish you the best of luck, and thank you for coming on. And everybody check out Sophie Buddle. She's hilarious.
Thanks, Matt.
You got it. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to get some advice, call me, 323-763-0228. Again, that's 323-763-0228. And myself and my guest will help you out. Thanks so much. This Might Help with Matt Braunger was created and hosted by me, Matt Braunger. Produced by Outer Circle Media. Executive producers Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly for the Laugh Button Podcasts.